Hello, and welcome to episode number 3 of Creative Mojo. My name is Joanne, and I'm coming to you from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where it is a beautiful, beautiful sunny Saturday afternoon on, I think it's April 16th today. And I'm delighted to have you here. For those of you who have watched my previous episodes, welcome back. And for those of you who might be new, welcome. And yeah, it's great to see you. And well, to have you see me, to be honest, because I can't see you. I record, I've been recording, I recorded my first couple of episodes on a Saturday afternoon, which I generally do because it's a good time for me. My husband works on Saturdays and he's out of the house, and it's easier to record when he's not lurking around watching and making me feel more awkward than I already do, talking to myself to a camera. But I wasn't actually going to record today. I've been feeling a little bit under the weather. I have a little bit of a throat thing going on. I'm not sure what's up with that. But my husband got up early this morning. He actually was driving to Saskatchewan, which is the next province east of us. He's a musician, professional musician, and he was driving there early this morning to play a gig there tonight, for which he'll drive back tomorrow. And I got up and there was a fiber event going on here in Calgary, and even though I wasn't feeling 100%, I decided to get myself together and take myself to that. And by the time I did that this morning and came home, and I was feeling a bit better, so I decided to go ahead and record today. You'll have to excuse me if I'm a little, if I clear my throat a few times. As I said, I've got something going on with my sore throat and stuff, but I have my lovely obligatory Knitter's hot tea here, so hopefully that will help. The tea I'm drinking, since people seem to enjoy finding out about new teas, I know a lot of knitters like to drink tea, is a David's tea in the great big huge tub, because I love this tea and I'm super addicted to it. I'm not a huge tea drinker. I prefer coffee and diet soda, which I know is bad for me, but I drink it anyway. Or water. But I discovered this particular tea and I'm quite addicted to it, which is why I have the big tub. It's called Alpine Punch. As I said, it's David's tea, and it's a rooibos tea with coconut, apple, cinnamon, ginger, cardamom, black pepper, rose blossoms, and almonds. And it is so super, super delicious. It's like kind of sweet and fragrant, but without being sort of cloyingly sweet, which I love. So if you like tea, I highly recommend this. So anyway, as I said, this morning I went to this fiber event. I'll take the glasses off because they glare, and just put them back on when I need to redo things. There was an event here in town today called the Fiber Frolic, and it was a vendor's market with yarn and project bags and jewelry and knitted hand goods and pottery and all kinds of great things. And I was really excited about going to it, partly because I'm trying to connect to more local yarns and support more local dyers and makers, and this was a great event for that. So I picked up some beautiful, beautiful things. Can't go to a fiber event without buying fiber, buying yarn, and at least I can't. And so I thought that I would start off today by showing you what I picked up there, because I'm really excited about it. They're all so pretty. So where to start? The first one I'm going to show you is PrairieDyeStudio, and again, it's a local. I think these are all local, either Calgary or certainly Alberta. Some of them are not actually from the city of Calgary, but they're here in the province, dyers. And this is very, very pretty, as you can see. The color is called Daydream, and it's this beautiful sort of blues and purples, and it's really soft. I actually thought it had cashmere in it till I looked closer at the label, and it is. I need the glasses again, sorry. It's 80% merino and 20% nylon, 425 yards. As I said, the dyer is PrairieDyeStudio. I will link all these in my show notes on YouTube and in my Ravelry group if you want to find out more about these yarns. But so there's that one, and then this one, which I also just adore. This is the Fawn and the Fox Fawn and the Fox yarns. And this is not, I wouldn't say that this is my normal colors, but colors that I'm normally drawn to, but the mix of this is so pretty with the pinks and sort of grays and golds and browns. So there's sort of orangey golds. Beautiful, beautiful mix. This is a BFL nylon base. 75% BFL and 25% nylon. Fingering weight also. And I don't know what these two are going to be yet. These might become socks. BFL is really nice for socks. It holds up really well. And so yeah, I'm not sure, but. And then I got 2 skeins from a company, as I said, this one is also, she's an Alberta dyer. I believe she's out of Red Deer, Alberta. She has a podcast called The Fawn Knits. Here's her little card, if you can read that. The Fawn Knits, and she's on YouTube, and she's got a great podcast. I've watched a few episodes of that, and she dyes yarn, and she makes bags, and you can see that she shows off a lot of her beautiful stuff on her podcast. So you should check that out. And then I also found this company, the Sea Turtle Fiber Arts, and I picked up this color. Sorry, this color, by the way, is called Grand Budapest. And I'm trying to see if this has, yes, this is called Bookworm, this one, and it's beautiful cream with blacks and these sort of orangey reds. It's a color I love. I'm not always a huge red fan, but when most of the reds that I've knit with are this lovely kind of orangey red. And this knits up sort of primarily cream with these pops of the black and the orange. And then I got a second skein of her fiber. This color is called Rainbow Brite. And it's a gray base with then these bright neon pops of all the rainbow colors, you know, yellow, green, blue, pink, orange. And she had a little sample of this knit up, and it knits up beautifully in a gray base with just little pops all the way through of these rainbow colors. And this I got for a podcast prize. I have a few ideas once hopefully I gather a few more people to the YouTube, to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and particularly a few more people to my Ravelry group. I have a couple of really fun knit-along ideas that I'm going to launch a little bit later in the spring or early summer. So I'm collecting a few things that will be prizes, and this will eventually be a prize for my first knit-along. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. And the last thing I got is fabulous. It's this beautiful cake of, what's the company called? The yarn is called The Rocking Yak, and it's a company that imports their yarns from, it says, handcrafted by rural Tibetan women living on the Tibetan plateau. Your purchase helps support these women and their communities. And this is actually hand spun from yak down, and it is incredibly soft. I've actually felt the yak down, and it's beautifully hand spun. It's actually spindle spun. The color here is one of the natural colors. They had some dyed up. They had some ones that were commercially spun, dyed up in some more sort of standard colors, but then they had a bunch of these hand spun ones that were either natural colors of the yak down, or they were dyed with Tibetan flowers or Tibetan leaves and stuff like that, and they were beautiful. And I just was really drawn to this natural kind of cream color. It's probably about a worsted weight. It's 190 yards, and I think this would probably make a really lovely hat or a cowl, something like that. So I'm really excited to work with that. That's a fiber I've never worked with before, and yeah, that's cool. So that's what I picked up at the fiber event this morning. I guess I should just dive into what I've been knitting in this past week. I'm wearing my one finished object, which I'm going to take off now. This is the Rikke hat by Sarah Young. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I started this actually a while ago. This is not something I showed that you would have seen on my previous 2 episodes of the podcast. I started this back sometime around Christmas. I knitted on it for a while and then kind of lost steam on it, and that's because it's well, it's garter stitch, which I love, but it's garter stitch in the round, so it's knit a row, purl a row, and I just kind of lost steam, and it sat in a bag in the corner for a while here. But I picked it up this week and I finished it. It's a beautiful yarn. This is mustache yarn. It's a DK base, and I think it's a 50% merino, 50% silk. Super, super soft. And the colorway is 50 million fans can't be wrong. It's this beautiful kind of shiny gold. Oh my goodness, my phone's ringing. I'm just going to ignore that, so please excuse the ring of my phone in the background. And so yeah, I knit this up in the Rikke hat, which, as I said, is a free pattern. And I'm going to, and I was going to give it away, but then I actually tried it on and it looked quite cute. I'm not a huge hat wearer normally, but I do like some hats. It does get cold in the winter here, so hats are kind of a necessity. So I'm going to keep this for me, which I kind of like. It's very soft and squishy, and it's slouchy, and it looks kind of cute, I think. So that's my one finished object for this week. In terms of what I've been working on, I worked on that for a couple of days, and then I made some good progress on my vanilla socks that I've shown before. I have one sock done, and last week when I showed these, I was down here from the cuff to here. So I've knit all the way from there down past the heel and past the heel turn and into the foot. So these will probably be finished in another couple of days. They were my purse knitting for a while, but I decided it was time that these got done, so I sort of pulled them out, and I've been working on them while watching TV and things like that. So yeah, this is Hampton Art Yarns, Deep Stash, something about several years ago. Don't even have the tag anymore, so I don't remember the color, but it's these beautiful variegated purples, very pretty. And it feels like a nice sturdy sock yarn. I'm knitting these on a 2mm needle. I've never really talked about this on my previous episodes, but these are definitely my needles of choice for my projects. These are the Knitter's Pride, I think they're called. The Dreams, the wooden needles, and I really, really like these. These are what I have an interchangeable set of these, as well as lots of fixed circulars. So these are my vanilla socks. I'm keeping these this is a project bag, one of the ones that I made. I'll show some more of these in another episode or two. I do have a shop on Etsy, also under the name Creative Mojo, but I haven't knit up, I haven't sewn up a few bags in a little while. There are some still in my shop, but I have a whole bunch of new fabrics and most of them are cut out and ready to get sewn up, and I just have to pull out the sewing machine and get to work on that. So I expect I'll have some to show you all soon and vlog, hopefully. And then I did quite a bit more work on this project, which I've been showing you, which is the Vertices Unite shawl by Stephen West. I think this was one of his mystery knit alongs 3 years ago, maybe. And I'm loving this. It's huge, as my husband said the other day. He said, is that a blanket? I said, no, it's actually going to be a shawl, but it is, I don't know if I can show it all. It's absolutely enormous. Some of the stitches in some places are on holders, so it's shape-wise you can't quite see, but this is where I'm at in it, which is section 5, and there's one more section after this, and then there's an I-cord edging and bind off all the way around it. So as you can see, it's already longer than my wingspan. It's being knit out of Skein top draw sock in a variety of colors. These two colors, the light color is called French macaroon, and the dark color is called, the purple is thistle. This color, this fantastic beautiful green, is called wild apple. This dark sort of greens and some little pops of sort of purpley red and black and is a color called dapple. this section that I'm working on now is being striped. Oh, there's another stripe section actually here too. This stripe section is, it's more subtle, these stripes, but this is in the wild apple and a color called cherub, which is a kind of a taupey, sort of a taupey grayish, purplish kind of color. And then this stripe section I'm working on now is in that same, the cherub, and the lighter stripes are the French macaroon. And it gets one more section of this purple, the thistle, by itself, and then that will be done. So I'm hoping to get that done, at least all of the sections done in it. I should have done for next week. I don't know whether I'll get the I-cord bind off done in the same week. That probably, or the I-cord edging, that will probably take me a little bit of time. But it's coming along nicely and in the home stretch. So I'm keeping this project in one of my favorite bags, which is a Fat Squirrel bag. It's actually her big sweater bag, but this project has sort of got to where it needed a big bag, and it's her library card bag. Lots of people, I think, have this and have shown it, but I love her bags. I have 3 of them, I think, and I use them a lot. So, and then I have one new little cast on. This is kind of hilarious. This is a sock blank, beautiful, beautiful sock blank that my friend Pat sent me a couple of weeks ago. It's a Gale's Art double sock blank, which means it's two skeins of yarn knit up together, so you knit 2 at a time with it. And the color is Lady Sings the Blues. I think that Pat has a membership in her sock blank club, and this was one of the sock blank clubs, I think. And I decided, I've never done 2 at a time socks before, and I've never knit with a sock blank before, and I decided to cast on. It was just the tiny wee little start of the 2 socks. Little lesson learned. I cast these on yesterday early evening, and as I said, I haven't been feeling well, and I was particularly not feeling well last night. I had a busy work day yesterday and got home and was not feeling great. Trying to cast on 2 at a time and I actually started out thinking I was going to do them toe up, which I've only done once or twice before, and eventually gave up on that idea because trying to figure out how to cast on 2 at a time and get them all lined up properly, and working with the sock blank with all this kinky yarn, and it was all twisting up on itself and kind of drove me a little crazy, and I had to rip out twice and start over, and I said I didn't get very far on it before I went, oh, I'm feeling crappy, I need something less taxing to my brain. So went to knitting on the shawl for a while. But those will probably come along a bit. So those are the projects that I've been working on this past week. What else did I want to tell you? Oh, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I want to show you a project that I showed on my very, very first podcast episode, which is the one that is no longer on YouTube. I did something crazy to it on YouTube and it disappeared, and I had already deleted the file, which was foolish. I'm now saving my past podcast files. So, but anyway, so I thought I'd show this again, and I wanted to talk a little bit about color mixing and color choices for projects, like the Vertices Unite shawl that uses 5 different colors. And so this is something that I knit very recently. I finished this in March. It's a pattern by Veera Valimaki called the Laneway Tunic. I'm going to try and show it. It's long. But, oh, and it smells good. I've been keeping it in the drawer with some little lavender sachets, and boy, it smells so good. Anyway, the pattern on Ravelry calls for 2 different colors, and you do some striping through part of the body, and then you do, the top is a solid color and the bottom is a solid color. I didn't have, well, maybe I did in Stash, but I didn't plan to do this with the 2 different colors as she called for in the project. Instead, I had been looking, I belong to, the yarn I used, let's start there, is a Skein top draw sock, in fingering weight. Top Draw Stock is a fingering weight yarn, and Skein yarn is a yarn out of Australia. And Kristen the dyer has something called a color club that I've been a member of for a long time, where you get a skein a month in the mail, and it's just whatever she feels like dyeing at the time. And they're always absolutely beautiful. I love her yarn so much, and I love her colors so much. But I have now a whole bin full of beautiful single skeins of fingering weight, and I've been looking at what to do with them, projects to do with them. I don't want to just knit them all into socks or mittens or whatever. I wanted to combine them into some larger projects. And so this particular project, I ended up using 5 different colorways from her color club. And because they were all sitting in a bin, and these 5 colors actually had been on the top of the bin for a while, and every time I was looking through it, I was looking at these same 5 colors, and I was looking at how well they went together. And what I realized is that they were all sort of in similar tonal ranges. They all had a similar background color to them, in kind of cream, pale gray, white, that range. And then they're all speckle dyed with different kind of colors, speckle colors. But there were commonalities. I think all of them had a little bit of blue. I think every one of them had a little bit of blue. And in some cases, you know, these 2 skeins had 2 or 3 similar colors, and these 2 skeins had 2 or 3 similar colors. So what I did was line them all up together, figure out an order that they kind of went from one to another with some color sense. And I did this tunic with those 5 colors, and I worked them. The project just worked from the top down. So I started at the top of the sweater with this color here, and this color was called Rain. And I did it for a while down to about here, and then I started striping in, so alternating every row with the second color, which was a color called Pastel Abstract. And I did that for a while, and then I dropped the first color, the Rain, and continued on just using the Pastel Abstract. And then I did the same striping in the next color, and the next, and the next, all the way down to the bottom. So you can see it actually does a really cool sort of gradient thing. And you can't really see stripes in it per se. You can't really tell where the parts that I striped and the parts that were just a solid color totally are, which is what I love about it. It's just this cool blend of colors. And the reason why that worked so well, as I said, is that they all had real tonal commonalities. And so I just thought it turned out so well that it's a neat idea for a way to use single skeins. You can see in the sleeve, I did the same thing in the sleeves too. There's 3 different colors working downward in the sleeves. It's a really interesting way to think about using multiple skeins, single skeins, to do a project in a way other than really obvious striping. So I wanted to share that with you. As I said, I have my sort of default when I buy yarn tends to be fingering weight, and it tends to be fingering weight single skeins. I like a lot of colors and a lot of variegated yarns and speckled yarns and stuff like that. So I end up with a lot of that, and then I end up trying to figure out what I can do with it. So this was one thing. It's another project, which is just, there are so many great 2, 3, 4, 5 color shawl projects on Ravelry. This is another one of my favorites in terms of mixing some colors. This is also Skein yarn. This is her Merino Cashmere fingering weight. Love this. This was 2 colors. The top color here is called Industrial Age, and it's there's sort of a brown and an orangey brown, and there's some blue and some gray in there. And then the second color is this Rusty Rock, which is sort of oranges and golds kind of. And then this section of the shawl is striped in the 2 colors. Now that's the way the pattern calls for it to be done. But I just loved how these 2 colors went together, and because they really contrast each other very nicely, but at the same time they actually striped beautifully as well. And it's because there's sort of some similar tonality in the orangey red and the orangey brown kind of in that. So that pattern is Kelias by, this is a hard name, Cailliau Berangere. I will again link that because I probably butchered the pronunciation of her name. But it's a really lovely pattern and was really fun to knit and a great way to mix two colors. And as I showed you, the Vertices Unite, which is a five color shawl, and great way, again, you could pick all kind. You could do 5 colors that were all in a similar color range, a similar sort of tonal, like pale colors or all pinky red colors, or you could do colors that, you could do blue and green and you could mix all kinds of colors. I kind of went for things that were predominantly in the purpley or green range mixed together for that project. I have a whole bin downstairs of yarns. I say downstairs, that's where my yarn storage, supposedly my craft room, but it's really my yarn storage room is. And I have a whole bin down there that's just fingering weight yarns that I put together for projects. Some of them are for specific projects, and some of them I don't necessarily have a project in mind yet, but I know that I think those yarns look really pretty together. And so when I find the right project. But that brings me to, as I said, I have a couple of fun ideas for some cows. I've got a couple of different ideas, but starting with, as I said, when I get a few more people, I wanted to do the project I particularly have in mind, and that's the way I kind of thought about this cow, was kind of around something that I want to knit. Very selfish of me, but that's me. Is the Color Affection shawl by Veera Valimaki, which is a shawl that I have never knit. And I know millions of people have. I think there might be like 10,000 projects, something like that on Ravelry, or 8,000. So millions is a little exaggeration, but, and I started thinking about the number of projects that I have in my queue of things I really want to knit, some of which I've already printed the pattern out for, and I've got the yarn picked out for and stuff, that are projects that a lot of other people have knit them, and that's part of what makes me want to knit them. I've seen so many beautiful examples that inspire me. And so I thought that might be kind of fun to do what I'm going to call a late to the party cow, which means picking a project that has been around for a while, that has been knit by lots of other people, but you've never knit it. And I begun putting together a pattern bundle on Ravelry with a whole bunch of examples of projects. I've been looking at projects thinking it's projects that have more than 4,000 projects knit by other people or in progress by other people, and that have been on Ravelry for over a year at least, which to have more than 4,000 projects, most of these patterns have been on Ravelry probably for 3-4 years, 5 years, something like that. But something that was really super popular, like the Color Affection shawl or like monkey socks or one of those kind of things. It's something that you've never knit before. So when I hope that I will get that going a little bit later into the spring, like maybe in May. And I'm going to knit, there's 2 things that are on the top of my list for that, are the Color Affection shawl. And I've picked out 3 gorgeous colors for that. This is a yarn called Sweet Fiber. They're a Canadian yarn as well. She's a dyer from Vancouver, I believe. Yeah, Vancouver. And I've got 3 colors here that I'm loving these 3 colors together. I think they will make a beautiful shawl. The colors are Winter. This is Winter. And Fossil. It's lovely brown. And Peachy Keen is this one. Peachy pink. So yeah, that's an upcoming future Cal. As I said, that's probably dependent on having a few more people. I did open a Ravelry group about a week and a half ago or so, and I think we have maybe 10 or 12 members at the moment, so hoping that we can pick up a few more members before we launch into a cow. And but if you're interested, please do come over to Ravelry, and you can find that group under the name forgetting my own name, Creative Mojo, and come and join the group and introduce yourself. And then I have some exciting plans that we'll get into as time goes on. And I think that takes me to the end of everything. Oh, there was actually, I lie again. You'll find this a recurring theme. I'm a liar who lies. There is one more thing I wanted to talk about. I wanted to give a couple more podcast recommendations. My last episode, I talked about a couple of podcasts that I've been watching and really, really enjoying, and wanted to share them with you in case they might be ones that you haven't discovered yet, that might be of interest to you or not. That's totally cool. I think there's lots of podcasts out there and something for everybody, and not every podcast is going to be everybody's interest and speed, and that's totally cool. But two that I wanted to mention, one is a podcast done by a friend of mine, an actual real life friend of mine here. She's another Calgary podcaster, and her podcast is called Knit & Go, and her name is Heather, and she's Rycrafty on Instagram and on Ravelry, and she has a lovely podcast. She's been podcasting for about, I think, 2 years at least. I did a couple of guest episodes on her podcast a while back, and she's delightful. She knits and she sews. She's great at sewing. She sews all kinds of garments for herself, which impresses the heck out of me. And so yeah, I highly recommend Knit & Go, giving that a check out. She's on iTunes for sure. I think she's on YouTube, but I'm not 100% sure of that. And the second one is probably something that you all heard of because they're pretty popular, but if you haven't, another one that I really enjoy is the Bakery Bears with Dan and Kay, and that's a podcast out of the UK, and it's on iTunes and YouTube, and I love their podcast. The knitting is great and fun, and their personalities are great and fun and interesting, but they do all kinds of additional really cool segments to their podcast. Particularly, they do something called Favorite Places to Knit, and they go to different locations in and around where they live in England, and they take you on tours to those places and their castles and things like that, and they give you fantastic history lessons about the area, and I love that segment. I'm endlessly fascinated by European and British history, and love seeing all the places that they take you to, and Dan is extremely knowledgeable about all of that, and so it's fantastic. So Knit & Go and the Bakery Bears, that's my two podcast recommendations for this week, and I think that's everything for me for today. Again, thank you for joining me. If you are enjoying my podcast, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you'll know when new episodes come up. And please do come over and join the Ravelry group and get involved, and we'll get some conversation going there. As I said, the Ravelry group is Creative Mojo. So thank you all so very much, and we'll talk to you next time.